Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, definitely. Man, thank you so much for coming on the platform. I really appreciate it. This is definitely an honor.
Oh, well, for me as well, and I appreciate you and your time. Um, so, first question needs to be answered. How do you pronounce your name?
Okay, it's Taye, like a
Taye.
tie,
Okay.
Taye Uhuru.
All right. Where, tell me some of your story.
Man, I'm a world traveler. I've been to 70 countries all around the world. So I'm currently in Ghana. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Big LeBron fan.
Wow. And you're currently in Ghana right now?
Yeah. I've been here this whole year. I've been enjoying myself. I'm loving it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Well, that's so cool.
indeed. Yeah, I appreciate it. Now, I can ask you, for the viewers who may not recognize you, let them know what your name is and where you from.
Oh, so we're already jumping into it already?
Yeah. I know you got moves to make, so I ain't gonna hold
Okay, I appreciate it. So my name's Aaron Cooper. Um, You can find me and my stories on Instagram at aaron.ac.cooper. I'm an industrial designer by education. Grew up in the Seattle area. To go way back, because I think it's part of it. My father was a preacher. My mom was a social activist. So I think empathy is in my genetics, and then creativity is in my family as well. And so those two things I think are big drivers of design. And so ended up going to design school for industrial design, for product design. Fell into footwear through an internship, being the first intern at Nike a long time ago, and spent 25 years at Nike. First 10 in Nike basketball, where I knew my role was to design some of the footwear, but my greater responsibility was that of the collective, which was to grow the culture of the game, not even necessarily the sport. So I kind of see things differently as like you have the game of basketball that a lot of people play, and then you have the sport of the performance of basketball. A lot of people play at at a higher level of competition. Our job was to grow that culture of the game, which includes the competitive side of things. And that was under the umbrella at Nike of growing the culture of sport. So an amazing time that I was there from 94 to 2019. And yeah, just since then, I've just stayed on my purpose path, which um, is really to inspire people to pursue their best self and enable them with products, services, experiences to be able to do that. Um, so that's about my story.
Wow, that's real cool. Big shout out to Seattle. That's a phenomenal city, man. A lot of people be sleeping on Seattle because it's so far up north to the west, but it's a beautiful place.
It is, yeah, beautiful, and a lot of athletes come from there. Basketball as well. It's a bit of a hidden mecca of hoop, and yeah, I joke. I actually grew up on a very in a very wealthy community. I joke I was the poorest kid in the wealthiest community because again my father was a preacher, but I grew up on Mercer Island, which is yeah, it's still in one of the top per capita wealthiest communities. So that was an interesting way to be brought up. But I wouldn't change anything because I saw a lot of I was around a very high performing community, a lot of work hard, play hard type of people. That's how I grew up, and that's the life that I live today. That's the life that I have raised my own kids, and I see that as being a good thing. Work hard, play hard. Um, you know, Try to do good for the world. Try to leave something behind. Try to leave this place a better place than when you came into it, and and have fun along the way, right?
Yeah, indeed. I wanted to ask you because it seems like now if you look at shoes, there's thousands of shoes to pick from, but prior to the 90s and the late 80s, I wasn't around, but it seems like it wasn't that many selections of, especially like basketball shoes and tennis shoes. So you had spoke on like community and your family when you let them know that that was your passion. You was going into design and you selected, you know, to design shoes. Were they understanding of that? Were they supportive of it, or were they kind of like, you know, why would you pursue that?
Yeah, no, my growing up, my parents were always very supportive of enabling me to be me. I was very lucky that way. Yeah, again, my mom, well, my father being a preacher and my mom being a social activist. I grew up in a very open, and yeah, just a very open home, with a lot of different people coming through the front door, a lot of different types of people, walks of life, and my parents celebrated people for who they were, and so they were developing me to be me, and design, creativity, and certainly was a part of my family, and my heritage, my genetics. The footwear piece I fell into. I was an athlete my whole life. Athlete, I played. Well, I define athleticism as I define athlete as athleticism, and I define athleticism as very broad. Whether you're taking your athleticism to the Olympics or to the grocery store, it's the same movements, right? Just at different force outputs and at different speeds. But yeah, so I fell into, like I said, I was the first design intern at Nike, and back then it was, I mean, footwear design wasn't a thing. Certainly, sneaker culture was not a thing. It was about sport, and it was about enabling athletes to do, to pursue their best, and in whatever environment that was, again, whether it was on a professional playing field or in your own backyard, didn't matter to us. And so, yeah, so that it really wasn't even a household conversation. It wasn't even a popular culture conversation, let alone, within the homes. And so, a lot of people would say that the 10 years I was in Nike basketball, we created that conversation. And if you look back at, we're, the NBA playoffs going on right now. If you look back at the playoffs in 97, even before 95, 96, 97, 98, like those years, there was more going on the court than there is today, in terms of like the statements of design. And design, by the way, is not styling. It's not styling of a foot covering. It's the performance meeting with the aesthetic, so that it's an intrinsic symbiotic relationship. You can't pull the two of them apart. That is the definition of design. Form follows function, performance equals style, art plus science, however you want to frame it up. But it's that relationship that creates good design. If you have a lot of performance and no style, then people probably won't be inspired to buy it and even use it and realize the performance. If you have all style and no performance, you may inspire a lot of people to buy it, but it probably won't last very long, because there's especially on the basketball court, right, at the highest levels. And so you need that blend, that mix. And back then, I would argue there was more going on the court than there is today. Now, are there a lot more colors and expressions of those styles today? For sure. Some might argue that's part of the problem. But yeah, back then, I mean, we were creating, a lot of individual like styles, like of individual products, that you still, I mean, just imagine if the Foamposite, as one example, if the Foamposite didn't exist and it came out today, it would shake up the industry today. And it wasn't just one Foamposite. There were multiple, statements of design happening on the court at the same time. So was there less happening around that? So that more attention would be drawn to them? You could probably argue that, but, or actually maybe not. If I think back to it, all of the athlete signature shoes, the statement level products that we were doing that weren't tied to specific athletes, there was a lot. Just Google those years in the NBA playoffs, and you'll see a lot of statements of design happening on the court.
Wow, that's amazing. I appreciate you breaking that down because as a consumer, sometimes we take for granted, we like the way that shoe look or our favorite player is wearing a shoe, but it's a lot of engineering that goes into making that product, let alone, we think about the design on paper or the computer, but the length, the weight, the foot performance, and in conjunction with accommodating the needs of that player, whatever ailments or weaknesses that they may have that shoe can fulfill. That's amazing.